All right, Abby, where are we going?
Okay, first one. Which transfer portal player that came in this offseason has helped Nebraska the most?
Awkward silence.
Okay.
I mean,
Transfer.
probably Ben Scott.
Yeah.
I-
There you go.
Yeah. So
Good
like
job,
you're
Sean.
talking about this past off season.
Camp.
Hey, Elijah Judy blocked a field goal that was pretty big.
Yeah. It's Ben Scott though.
Ben Scott, though.
Ben Scott
That's
Kemp
the
starts every game.
Who's your second one? Kemp?
Yeah, I'd say Kemp. He's the leading receiver outside Fedoni.
Yeah. He's got more catches or more yards. Or
One of the two.
Yeah.
So I'd say those two for sure. Ben Scott and Kemp have been hits. They've been hits. Judy's playing. He'll play in the range of 8 to 15 snaps a game. He's a good pass rusher as a big man. I put him in pass rush situations. Elijah Judy from Texas A&M. So they've had some hits.
Yeah, I think it's just a reminder how hard it is to make it work with the portal. Like, it's not a fantasy football team here. Like, it's real football. It's real culture, real life issues to blend these teams together. It's not easy.
No, it's not, because it's Ron Brown compared it to it's like you're going down the interstate at 90 trying to make good decisions. Everything everything speeds up in portal recruiting. So you're trying to, you used to hear those stories about coaches like, oh, I talked to their guidance counselor, I talked to the neighbor, I talked to the Little League baseball coach. Can't do all that. There's no time. There's no time in portal recruiting.
It's like going to Vegas and meeting a gal in a week and getting married. Because you had a good week in Vegas.
Yeah,
and just got married.
And you just got to hope that chemistry really is right.
Then she comes back and you find out a few things about her, maybe, or she finds out a few things about you,
right?
That maybe aren't a good marriage. That's the transfer portal.
Yeah, I remember even John Cook mentioned that with Merritt Beeson. Like, the credentials were there. Like, that wasn't the issue, but he just didn't know her. He didn't know what she was going to be like off the court and in the locker room. And so even at other sports, you're taking a risk with someone that could be, the best person ever. You just don't know. You don't know how they're going to respond to the new situation that they're in at your school, in your program.
When Abby in volleyball, even Caitlin Horde, she was an outstanding player, but that team last year doesn't look like this team this year with the player. I mean, when you look at the high school recruits that John Cook brought in versus, a big name portal player they tried to kind of build with.
Yeah, and with Caitlin, they kind of had some issues setting her because she jumped so high. It was hard for them to connect with her, and she didn't reach her full potential here. She blocked great. She led the country in blocks, but she couldn't get that going with that chemistry and the new players after being at Penn State for so long.
All right, what do we got next?
Okay, next one. If Nebraska, hypothetically, I'm knocking on wood, loses the next 3 games and finishes 5-7 on the season, would you consider this season a success?
No. I mean, it would be a real tough pill to swallow. And they could still get to a bowl at 5-7. I think there's a lot of projections out there. No, there are. There's a lot of projections out there that there will be 8 teams going to the bowls this year. It's one of those years where the teams have just beat up on each other, and the top teams have kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird year in that sense.
Interesting. I would tell you this, Abby. Matt Rule would not consider it a success.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like we're being overly negative with our quick response. Matt Rule would say, no, that's not a success.
Especially in the way that record would have happened. The fact that they were so close and fell so short or that far away from achieving that goal, and to not do it.
Oh, he's trying to build a program that's really strong in November.
Yeah, that means that you did not take that step.
I think it would almost feel dirty if they went to a bowl at 5-7.
Yeah.
Like if they ended the bowl streak.
It would. Like, would you even count it? Would that be an asterisk?
Well, Mike Riley went to a bowl at 5-7 and kind of.
Well, that was fascinating because that bowl they played really well.
Like
they played a ranked team
and crushed UCLA and hammered it on the ground. And I wrote a big column like, this is Riley. He finally figured it out. He's going to hammer it at people.
Whoops.
Wrong. That was wrong. Nice job.
Next question.
Okay. Nebraska ball fans got their first look at the majority of Nebraska's team this year. What are your first impressions of the squad?
Yeah, so they're still incomplete. Keisei Tominaga, as of recording time, hasn't played yet. Juwan Gary hasn't played yet. Blaze Cada, Ramel Lloyd have still been out. So the full roster has still yet to play another opponent together on the court. But we've at least been able to see kind of the picture of some of those critical pieces, especially in the front court, Rink Mast and Josiah Alec. They kind of represent this brand of what Nebraska wants to be this year in terms of this new wave of physicality and being a tough bully type team in the post. And competition was what it was, but they did what they were supposed to do. They were the bigger, stronger, more experienced team, and they played like it. And they dominated Lindenwood. So, with this non-conference, it's going to be a constant evolution of getting these other pieces back in the mix, blending it all together, trying out different lineups. But for the first couple of glimpses we've seen, it's been pretty positive. And competition aside, Nebraska, there's been years where they lose that game, and they lose against these types of teams.
Western Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, you could go down the list. There's numerous examples.
Riverside?
Yeah, East Riverside, Southern Utah, Western Illinois, like you said. So, like, I mean, there's a long line of it. And for them to handle their business and doing it in a convincing manner, to me, that's a tangible sign of progress.
All right, next question.
Good
Abby.
answer.
What are your thoughts on rules comments about the refs and the review process? And is there something that the conference can do to limit those bad calls?
I said this on KFAB this week, our affiliate in Omaha, that Rule almost sounded like he was one of the congressmen, the way he like was critical without like calling them out, but he was critical in kind of a political way. Like, hey, I'm not going to blame the on-field guys. They have a tough job, but the guys in the replay booth, the review guys, they have the technology that they should never be wrong. And it's hard not to disagree with that.
No, the review. Okay, you go back to Minnesota, and he went back to Minnesota to the play right before halftime where Gabe Irvin,
the ball crossed the plane.
Yeah, Gabe Irvin. It wasn't immediately like we didn't know in the press box, right? But after the review, you're like, "Oh yeah, that looked like a touchdown."
Mm-hmm.
Still wasn't called. And then the play against Michigan State, where you look at the replay over and over on BTN or wherever you see it, where I saw it on BTN last night, and I'm like, oh God, yeah, that wasn't a catch. But why can't they see that in review?
I don't know.
They back the call on the field hard. That's my theory. They always give that guy on the field, if like they think he had the closest view to it, and he calls what he does, if it's not indisputable, they tend to back that guy. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there's got to be conclusive evidence to change the call on the field. And if they think there's any level of doubt, they're going to err with what was ruled, the initial ruling. So that's my only answer. But what's the point of review then? At that point, just go with the call on the field.
Here's the question I have, and we need to ask this to somebody. Does Rule get fined for those comments yesterday?
I think the Big Ten announces that. I don't think they just keep that quiet.
Yeah, no, there'll be a statement that he's
should he be fined?
No.
Because he didn't come out and like put it on blast. Like he's like more questioning just the process. I mean,
can he have a discussion? Like he was just having a fair discussion.
And if he does get fined, I don't think he cares.
I think he makes enough money.
I don't think he cares one bit because he said it himself. He's like, I got to stand up for my guys.
That was
like if he doesn't think that I'm up here going to bat for them, even if it means that it's going to cost me a check to the Big Ten, so be it. I think it's far more valuable to have his players believing that he's going to fight for them than worrying about any sort of like.
Right. And those comments might put some more heat on the conference replay highest levels to get the message down. Let's not screw this up again. Like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? The ball hit the freaking ground. It's an incomplete pass. Yeah, hey, Malachi Coleman got the first down. Why did you mark it at 9? Why did you stop?
That was the call that was the most egregious to me. Clearly had the first down. 15 seconds run off the clock because it's second.
Well, the Harburg fumble too. I mean,
yeah, it was pretty bad.
That
was pretty bad.
Dean, I won't even try to get his last.
Blandino.
I said Blandino.
Bambino.
But I mean, he was like incomplete pass. Like it wasn't even like we were watching it on Fox. And what's funny is when I brought that up to Rule, and the Rule had no idea that
he couldn't see it.
Fox said why wasn't this stopped? All right.
Now, one other thing. The only pushback I'd give you guys on discussing officials is I don't think it would look good for college football if every Monday coaches came out and had a long spiel about the officiating. I don't know if that's.
But he's talking about two particular plays in one-score games that resulted in a touchdown being put on the board and one being taken off.
I understand.
All right, final question.
Okay. After this year's cross-country steak tour, which steakhouse would you recommend in Lincoln?
Well, Casa Bovina is the highest end in town. I mean,
Casa Bovina.
most expensive restaurant in town, highest level chefs, nicest experience. I mean, if you can get a reservation there, that's where you would go. If you
Sounds like Tuesday night to me.
but if you want to spend, the money, I mean, but there's a lot of other good ones, guys.
Misty's, Havelock,
Old school.
Yeah, go Misty's,
if you're,
Havelock.
if you're a football fan coming into Lincoln, go to the original Misty's just for the
pep band
tradition
comes
of
in.
it.
ambiance.
Yeah, like the steaks are good, but the ambiance is what makes Misty's special.
Venue's a good spot too. The venue.
Yeah, it is. Sure is. It's good
for
it's
a
good.
steak.
Yeah, it's good food.
What's the Tavern 180 has?
Oh,
meat steaks.
God.
They are sponsors.
What do we have this July? In
The
July, Sean?
Wagyu. The
Was that
Wagyu.
last July?
The Wagyu, and then they have the prime ribeye, which
Yeah.
they are one of the only places that consistently carry a prime USDA prime steak on the menu.
Probably
That
one of the
Wagyu
better steaks I've had in Lincoln.
Yeah, the Wagyu steak is like I don't even want to think about it right now. It's so good. It's that good.
Yeah, it's Tavern 180 is hard to beat, and it gets busy on the week. I mean, they're pretty busy, and they have brunch there as well. So that's a good spot to go. But yeah, if you had just no concern about money and wanted to get the best experience, the best quality meal, Casa Bovina, in my opinion, is hard to beat. But like Sip said, if you're here to experience Nebraska, the game,
If you're a football fan coming to Lincoln,
And Misty's, it's just so I like it because it's so dimly lit.
Yeah.
Like you
Got
can
that
just kind of
classic
sink
steakhouse
in.
vibe.
You just kind of sink in.
and then you walk. And we're going to go to a place like that in
Yeah,
Madison,
you'll
the
like
Tornado
it.
Room.
You'll like
I mean,
Is it like that?
oh,
Yes.
it's a throwback.
it's like a time warp.
Oh God, that's
It's like you're stepping back into 1960.
Yeah, we need that. That's good. We need more of that. We need to live in the past way more.
Cell phones aren't allowed to be used.